everybody. Welcome to another episode of What a Hell of a Way to Dad. It is Francis, and with me today on this fine day, almost before the long weekend, I have Aaron with me. Aaron was brought to my attention because I always love to find people who were in the military and are now doing interesting things. I just had an interview with Dusty Gannon over on Vision Video, who, Aaron, I don't know if you know him. He was a infantry captain, and now he is the lead of a goth wave band. So,
Rad.
Yeah, we got people who are doing some things. And Aaron, you used to be in the Air Force. Is that correct?
I did. I was an intelligence analyst for 6 years.
So first, what brought you to the Air Force? I'm always curious because a lot of times it's like, well, I showed up to the recruiter office and the Marines were the only ones there. So what is it that got the Air Force specifically for you?
Man, so I had grown up with the threat of like military boarding school anytime I was fucking up in school. So it was kind of like always in the back of my mind. And I left high school. I went to a small town in Oklahoma to go to music school, and just kind of crashed and burned trying to be an adult, and was working dead end jobs. The one that finally was the one that I was like, I got to do something with my life, as I was working overnights, doing sanitation at a hot dog factory in Lawton, Oklahoma. And I was like, man, I would rather get shot at. Wait, there's options for me. And then I thought a little bit harder and was like, I don't actually want to get shot at. So I went and talked to the Air Force recruiter.
Yeah, that is something that I always try to like tell people who like, I don't understand why somebody would join the military because, and it's like, look, you don't, when you're 18 or 19 years old, you don't understand, you're not smart. You don't know what's going on. But also you can be working the most fucked dead end job. Like, I wish somebody would scream at me if it meant that I got 3 meals a day, right, and didn't live. And you made the correct choice of joining the branch of the military that takes care of its people nominally. At least that's what everybody else thinks. Air Force is always the one with the beautiful chow halls and the barracks rooms that have ensuite toilet valets and everything like that.
Yeah, the Air Force specializes more in psychological abuse than physical abuse. Though I know all branches have their own unique way to damaging your psyche. But yeah. Yeah,
I have heard that about the Air Force, that they're much more of a mental breaking kind of thing. I also heard that they're very Christian, but I think that's mostly at the Air Force Academy. That it's like a super evangelical kind of space.
It was wild how many pilots that I met that were Mormon. And then like I kind of started looking into them like, oh, it kind of makes sense that people in like Christian nationalist kind of vibes would want to go bomb people and shit. So kind of made sense after a while.
You have the real white trash guys who join and become infantry so they can do small group tactics and everything. And then you have your rich guys who are like, no, in case of Jesus coming back, somebody needs to be able to fly an F-35. So I'm here for you, Jesus.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, like the whole recruitment end of it, I don't know, like we're all the same kind of people, right? Like we all come from like a lot of times not the greatest socioeconomic background. And like you're an adolescent dealing with like huge depression issues or what have you, and your mental health cocktail of bad feelings and everything. And they know about that. They're pretty adept to picking up on that. So, it's target rich.
They could smell a lot of us from a mile away. It's like, that kid doesn't know what he's doing after this high school thing. He has no idea. Why don't you come talk to us? My parents dimed me out. My parents gave my phone number to a recruiter. So
that's funny.
They're like, you kept talking. Well, my brother was in the Army. My dad was in the Army. And you got to realize this was also pre 9/11. Yeah. So the military at the time was just a thing you went and did 4 years of and put it on your resume. And then 9/11 happened. And my parents were like, maybe we shouldn't have pushed you towards this. Too late, Mom. You should have let me play football in high school and get a concussion there. Now I got to go to Afghanistan and get one.
Yeah. I was like already pretty like radical as a kid. I listened to a lot of like punk and hardcore, and my reading list was informed by that. And so I was pretty anti-military while I was in high school, to the point to where we had a whole like ASVAB group test situation in our performing arts center at the school, and I got in a shouting match with the Marine recruiter and got removed from campus for the day and stuff. And I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna fucking take this test that's gonna make me eligible to be a baby killer like these chuds. And they're like, you can't do that. You're gonna have to leave for the day.
No, we can't have that. You're bringing it down, man.
Right. And like being in rural East Texas, I was in like a very fertile recruitment ground for this. So they're like, yeah, we can't have you speaking your mind here. You got to go, man. But then, year and a half later, signing up on my own accord.
Yeah, it eventually comes for us all. The military is it's, as I try to explain to people, it's like the easiest job ever, because you just join up and there's always somebody telling you what to do and where to go and what to eat, and you're just like, this is great. I can turn my fucking brain off.
Right.
I don't have to do this. But as an intelligence analyst, I guess you actually had to use your brain somewhat. Did you ever get deployed?
Yeah, but man, it was a fucking joke. I maintained my position of speaking my mind, and that didn't yield me great deployment opportunities. So to get me a deployment, to get me a little ribbon, the CENTCOM commander did not want to lose the asset that I was supporting, which was the CV-22 Osprey. They didn't have a mission for him in Afghanistan anymore, so they sent him to Qatar to just sit there and do like training missions throughout the region. And I went and babysitted the plane with crews for a few months out there. Didn't do anything real, just trained.
Yeah, that's that. You know what? That's the best time in the military is when you don't really do anything.
Right.
So you were working on the Ospreys, right?
Yeah, that was when I was at the tactical level and not briefing like wing commanders and stuff. That was the plane that I worked with.
Is that a plane? Do we consider that an airplane?
It's a vertical takeoff and landing platform. We can call it a plane. We can call it a helicopter. We can call it whatever we want,
Yeah. We can call it the burning hunk on the other side of the mountain over there too.
Yeah. It's just like this thing that confounds engineers and pilots alike. Everybody's like, this should not fucking work. And about 75% of the time it does.
Yeah. And I don't know what the purpose for it is, the mission for it is, but god damn it, we're gonna have plenty of them, and we're gonna feed Marines into it like it's a Warhammer 40K emperor of some kind.
Yeah.
So your time, you spent 6 years in the Air Force, and was that just one contract and you're like, all right, I'm done with this? Did you enjoy your time in the Air Force, like to any degree?
It was one contract because I was kind of at a spot where my mental health was so bad that I was just like, yeah, I mean, I have no plans. I have no aspirations. I'm just going to go ahead and...
I'm surprised that joining the Air Force didn't fix all of your mental health problems that you had from before the Air Force. It's weird that plan didn't work out for you.
Yeah, well, I mean, like it added a whole complement of new ones too, But yeah, so it was just one contract. I signed up for 6 out the gate because they were like, you'll get more money, you'll promote faster. And that was one of the instances that my recruiter did not lie. I did promote faster, like you do. Graduate basic training is in E3 or whatever. But yeah, I enjoyed the like play aspects of it, right? Like, it is very fun getting to play war games on a big level with a bunch of committed players, and you're like doing all this crazy planning and learning all this crazy technical knowledge, and it scratches like a lot of itches for my brain's craving of like applicable minutia. And like there was aspects of it that was really cool, but like what it all meant sucked, and the context in which it was happening sucked. So it's like I loathed my time in the Air Force, but I did meet some wonderful people, as we all do. I'm sure there's like a good handful of guys that got out and woke up with you and we're like, fuck, what were we doing, man? And yeah, those are the people that I'm still in touch with. And yeah, so it's like I kind of had fun in spite of being there in some aspects, but I also just like, yeah, I got off the bus in basic and was like, oh, I made a huge mistake. So it was just 6 years of that.
Yeah, I didn't really get politically awoken until I was probably in my late 20s and early 30s, and I already had like 12 years down and 2 deployments under my belt, and they were like, do you want this last contract to take you to 20 years? And I thought, man, that Lowe's discount for the rest of my life sounds pretty fucking sweet. So 10% off, and they still got the parking spot for me. My weed store no longer has a veteran specific parking spot, but at least Lowe's does. I know, they still give me 10% off. It's fine.
That's good. Yeah. I really like parking in the veteran parking at Lowe's because I really don't look the part, and like all the old dudes stare you down while you walk into the store, and I'm just like, please say something. Please say something.
I like parking my electric car there.
Hell yeah. I drive a Prius.
We have a Nissan Leaf, and I love just parking this little blue electric car in between a couple of trucks so I can go in and buy, I don't know, fasteners of some kind. I'm always working on little projects that I have to go to Lowe's for. Yeah, so you do 6 years, you decide to get out. So what led you to where you are now?
Well, so I have an amazing wife, a true partner in every sense of the word, and she saw how miserable I was. I met her about 2 years in, and
was she Air Force as well?
No, we met each other via the internet on goddamn OkCupid, and we dated for 3 months, and we were both like, marriage is hilarious, but neither of us believe in it. But the military is going to pay you money and let you move off base, so let's go ahead and do this. I was also like, if something catastrophic happens, you get $250,000. So like, that's cool.
Tale as old as time. You're never going to see that Disney movie,
But yeah, now we're 13 years in on this whole thing, and we don't hate each other. I think, it's just gotten cooler and cooler, which is so funny. Two people that didn't believe in the institution of marriage at all, and we're still together. But anyway, she was my constant advocate and saw how miserable I was while I was in, and she was like, man, you're going to have to figure out what it is that you're going to do when you get out so you don't wuss out like your friends that keep signing contracts and hate it and don't want to be there but don't know what else to do. And so like I was in Fort Walton Beach, Florida, stationed at Hurlburt Field. So I like kind of explored the artistic community out there. I've always been a musician and an artist, and it's always kind of a toss up of which I'm going to pursue with more fervor. But so I started working in the art community out there and was associated with the gallery for a little while and displaying works. And the owner of that wound up being a whole fucking nightmare. Somehow got the phone number to my skiff and like called me while I was at work, threatening to kill himself because the work that I did for free at his gallery wasn't good enough and blah, blah, blah. So I like distanced from him real quick and was like, fuck it, I don't know what I'm going to do. And just kind of wound up floating for a little bit. And my wife was getting a birthday tattoo with a really cool dude named Heath Thomas at the local shop out there. And I always wanted a tattoo since I was a kid, but just kind of assumed it was like too closed of a community for me to really get into because I like didn't know anybody, didn't have any like family friends who were tattooers or anything. And he kept the shop open late that night. It was a slow day. He was like looking forward to make the money. We were trying to schedule an appointment in advance, and he's like, I'll take the time. I'll draw it right now. So we're hanging out with him at the shop late at night and shooting the shit and having a really good time. And conversation falls quiet, and I kind of like mutter under my breath, man, I wish I could do this. And he heard me, and he's like, dude, do you draw? Like, bring me a portfolio and I'll tell you if it's worth your time at all. So I brought him a portfolio a month later after redrawing every single thing that I had in there because it suddenly wasn't good enough anymore.
Of course.
And I think he saw that. It was pretty clear that they were all drawn like pretty recently, back to back kind of stuff. And he appreciated the initiative and took me on that day. I started cleaning the toilets, had about 2 more years left in where I was just fucking waking up at 5 to go PT and then staying at the tattoo shop until midnight after my normal day at the Air Force. And then, from there, I was like, all right, I'm going back to Texas. I want to go to school. So I went to UT for the fine arts program for a little bit, started getting disillusioned with that, found a shop that I could work at locally here in Austin and started doing all that. Then from there, everything was hunky-dory and chopping along until we get to the pandemic. And then me and a friend at the shop that I'm at are just absolutely fucking hating the way that our boss at the shop is handling the situation. And it just doesn't feel like there was a lot of respect for our safety or our client's safety. And we were like, man, we could do this in such a better way. So he reached out to another friend that we had made locally who was also in the same kind of boat with their shop. We put our money together and started a little co-op shop called Noble Jackals. Opened in September of 2020. We're still here, still chugging along, making tattoos together and having a good time. No owners. It's just 3 people splitting the bills. So we're not, paying anybody a cut or anything, which is nice. And the other third of that group happened to start a sludge band that was a 3-piece, her, a guitarist, and a drummer. And they were doing really well. They were called Throat Piss. And every time, so I designed a bunch of merch for them, and I was at a bunch of their shows and slinging the merch and everything. And I really enjoyed the music and believed in it. But every fucking time a client was talking to her about it, Whitney is her name, the vocalist, she would lament, like, I swear if one more person asks to play bass for us. I was like, it'd be really funny as a big fuck you to all of the people who want to play bass is if you put something that made no sense on stage first, like a saxophone. And she's like, fuck it, let's try it. And we started it as a joke. And then, from there, it kept working. And people were like, is Sax Man going to be at this show? Is Sax Man going to be at this show? And then I was officially asked to join the band and wrote parts to all the songs. And that's me talking forever without interruption.
So you're not a classically trained saxophonist then? You're kind of coming at this a little later in life.
Incorrect. I have been playing saxophone since middle school, went to college for it. I am currently going back to school for it and kind of redirecting from tattooing to I want to educate at the college level, but I'm a jazz guy. I love music of all kinds, but my background is heavy in jazz and punk and hardcore music. So.
Now let me ask you something, Aaron, because I watched some music videos and everything from Throat Piss. So at what point, what is the ratio of horns before you guys become a ska band?
So I think it's less about the ratio of horns and more about the application, right? Like I am covering.
There's no sax solos, it seems. You're with them. You're a part of the ensemble.
There definitely are a handful of songs that have like The Cat That Ate People definitely has 2 very gratuitous sax solos in it. And occasionally I will take on a lead line, but my spot in the band as the jokey fuck you to all the people asking to play bass was I am going to install a pickup on my saxophone and run it through guitar pedals, and I'm going to use a pitch shifter to drop me down an octave so I can play bass on the saxophone. So a lot of the time that's what I'm doing, but then I'll play lead lines and stuff. But like our guitarist is a 7-string player, and a lot of the times when he plays like stuff that's really low and chuggy, then I'll pop up and play a lead line. But when he's doing more traditional guitar kind of shit, then I fill the role of the bass. But I like, we're not really doing the ska thing. Our music doesn't sound happy. It doesn't emphasize the upbeat.
Does it have more than 3 chords?
It does. It has a lot of wild shit going on. Our guitarist is like a self-taught guy that like so much has that magic spark that a longtime listener and new player has, where they have so much like invention because they're not really held down by very formulaic ways of writing or anything. And like it's been so cool to watch him progress because he writes in a very interesting way, like the way that he structures the form of a song and the chords that he'll chain together don't necessarily fit super traditional progressions. And there's like a lot that like is very right on for hardcore and sludge and stuff. But like, he finds a lot of really cool stuff, and it's been so much fun playing with them.
Yeah, that's where you find a lot of the talent, are the ones who you just kind of point in a direction and you say, go. And they figure it out on their own. Instruments never, they never took on for me. I was never able to get into music as much as like a lot of other people that I work with are. But I do appreciate though the differences in metal. So you're saying you guys are sludge rock. What is sludge?
Well, it's like so we're kind of defiant as far as genres are concerned, but sludge is probably the closest fit. Sludge is kind of a man. I'm gonna get crucified by somebody that has more gatekeeper cred than me, but it's kind of a it's like a crossover metal hardcore kind of sound. A lot of like notable bands in sludge would be like Buzz Oven or I Hate God and stuff like that. It's kind of like there's elements of doom. There's like droney qualities to the metal. There's like a lot of stoner metal kind of things going on, but it has like the beat and energy of hardcore thrown at it. But yeah, we do a lot of weird stuff. We have black metal songs. We've got like real atmospheric weird shit going on. Yeah, we're pretty defiant as far as like any one genre is concerned.
So between music and your tattoo artistry, where do you kind of draw your inspiration? You know, you're part of the music making process. You're part of this artistic process. You know, what is it that you're bringing into this with your experiences?
So like in tattooing, I for the longest wanted to be like one of those guys drawing all those badass tough guy traditional tattoos and shit, and I really thought that that's what I wanted to do. But then I started realizing that so much of the stuff that I've always drawn has such a sense of humor about it. So I really just try to kind of make stuff that has kind of a humorous quality to it while still being rooted within traditional tattoo kind of, I guess, guidelines. I don't want to call them rules, but like those kind of design elements. Like I still want it to look like the stuff that I loved that made me, you know, fall in love with tattoos as a kid, and looking at my parents' friends' arms and ogling after like a Taz or a fucking swallow or whatever on their arm.
It is so tempting for me to get a Tasmanian devil tattoo at this point. My wife and I have both been itching. I haven't gotten one in over 16, 17 years now, but I want to do a throwback tattoo, and it'll be a 1990s Tasmanian devil that says back off or something over it. No, it'll need to be a Yosemite Sam with back off. I need the mud flap Yosemite on my leg.
I want to be the biggest advocate for saying do that, because tattooers all across the US right now are like having such a hard time drumming up business because of all the economic uncertainty and everything. If you walked into a tattoo shop that's been slow for a minute with that kind of request, you're going to be treated like royalty, man. Everybody's going to be about doing that tattoo. You might have like 3 or 4 artists fighting over it.
Yeah, I actually one of the tattoos I got was an army tattoo on my rib cage, and the thing is that it's the Army public affairs symbol, because I was in public affairs, and it looks cool. It's a sword and a quill and a lightning bolt. So people who are not familiar with the Army are like, wow, let's get this Army tattoo on you. I've never seen this one. And then everybody in public affairs looks at me and is like, what the fuck's wrong with you? Why would you do that?
That's
and
awesome.
I said, because I guarantee you nobody else has. And then like 2 years after, somebody else showed me a tattoo they had, but mine was better.
Man, my roommate in technical training wound up on a bunch of like Air Force shit talky like NCO pages and stuff because he got the training squadron's mascot. He got a 315 TRS.
Oh no.
And then the fucking rattlesnake, because it was the Rattlers, and it was like the lumpiest fucking most marble eating rattlesnake I've ever fucking seen. And he got blasted everywhere, and I felt so bad because I took the picture and I didn't really I didn't mean for it to go anywhere. I just wanted to document this awful tattoo for my own enjoyment. And one of my other roommates was like, yo, send me that. And I'm like, not thinking anything of it. And then it spread like wildfire. I'm like, oh no. But you know
what? That's on that guy. You know, you can get, if you really want to commemorate your training platoon, get the little rattlesnake. That's fine. Don't put numbers and letters on it though. That's like, I have numbers and letters on mine that are my deployment dates. That's all you need. I'm not going to put like 1st Infantry division, because
Yeah.
fuck those guys. Like, I'm not going to do that.
Man, it's so infamous now too, because like the leadership at our training squadron like got fucking court-martialed and shit. There was all sorts of like weird sex shit going on, and like wild abuse to the trainees, and like, yeah, fucking
you don't want to
wild.
put something that I could Google and come up with like, oh, this is what you're involved in. Like, I think it would have been better if you had like a swastika at this point, because it just seems like you're part of the worst training battalion ever. But that's fine. You'd probably get away with a swastika too. So your time in the Air Force, time out of the Air Force. So how long have you been out?
I got out in 2016, so whatever that maths out to, almost 10 years.
Okay. Yeah, almost 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you find yourself like, I guess like, we all look back on our time in the military differently. And I know you talked about how obviously the organization sucks. We understand that, but the experience can really be there. So I want to know, were there any experiences from the Air Force that kind of come into your art as well? I don't know if you're ever thinking about the Air Force while you're blasting the saxophone on stage.
Saxophone is like so there's like making music was such a prior part of my life that I'd like to feel like it's relatively untainted, especially since I didn't have any of those kind of I didn't have any real musical experiences while I was in. It was almost like a big period of time that I just kind of set my instruments down. I picked up guitar and banjo and shit while I was in, and I did write, regrettably, for the title. I wrote a song called Airman. It's on fucking YouTube. Like, I've got a handful of back like in the fucking stomp clap hey era of music. I was writing like sad bastard burnout songs at that period of time, and I did write one called Airman that very much talked about like the metaphor behind it was like turning a piece of paper into an airplane, kind of like signing a fucking contract and like using that as a vehicle to get you to the rest of your fucking life. So like that was probably the most obvious thing that had influence on my music.
Well, I'm wondering because you're bringing something to a musical genre that is not normally there. I don't know how many other metal bands, regardless of metal genre, have a horn section of any kind. Though I do wonder if we could take your talents to the Air Force band Max Impact. I don't know if you're aware of that band.
Is that like their Tops in Blue kind of like pop performer group thing?
Yeah. They're the ones who like they performed like on a Three Doors Down music video in 2008 or some shit like that.
Jesus, that's awesome.
Max Impact.
That's funny.
It's good stuff. I've never seen them. They never came out to Afghanistan while I was there, unfortunately.
Bummer. I think one of the things that maybe I can say is a direct line between my time in being an intelligence analyst in the Air Force and doing what I'm doing in Throat Piss is that I don't have any real fear over technical writing or manuals anymore. Because I mean, like I was digging into like learning how fucking surface to air missile systems worked and interacted with our shit and X, Y, and Z. So like figuring out how the signal path on your pedal board works in a very technical kind of way and understanding what's happening to that signal and kind of understanding all the technical things that help me figure out how to make the saxophone fit in this environment. Like, I don't know if I would have gone about figuring it out so cleverly if I was just cramming shit together and just seeing what works instead of like actually having the desire to go in and research it and figure it out at that level. So like on a technical side, yeah, definitely some input there.
Yeah, those technical manuals. I never had to deal too much with them, but they are very dense, and the ability that something that I also tell people about why the military is so easy. It's because they've written everything down. Like everything that you can imagine that you need to know, it's written down somewhere. And if you just do the things that are written down, you'll be fine. And that is what those technical manuals, often consist of. But they're also very technical. And if you've got a bozo like me, who's the public affairs guys, like I'm just here to take pictures. I don't care about the way that the circuits are going here. But I can see how that helps you out. That it gives you a better understanding of Because I feel like, to do the musical part, you have to be able to do the technical part, right? And the technical part is something that has always eluded me when it comes to the musical part. Like I understand the music, but like what you're doing here, being able to, kind of break it down and do more introspection is just something that's always eluded me, I guess.
I don't know. It's not required. You don't have to have all that technical interest or the want or ability to dig into all of that, but to like recreate results, man, it really fucking helps to understand what's going on at all. Cause like nobody is immune to creating magic, right? Like that's inherent to us as people interacting with equipment, making art. Like no matter what, you're gonna do something that has artistic value, that has merit, that says something. But to be able to recreate things over and over again and make your if I was just shooting stuff in the studio and had no idea how I got to those sounds, like then how am I going to do it live? And yeah, of course, these things are somewhat different, but I like the difference to be in like the solo being like an improvised solo instead of me just ripping the same one that's on the recording. I don't want to be thinking about like, well, fuck, okay, this combination delay pedal, I think I had it set like this, but now the feedback is ramping and going crazy. And like, yeah, not knowing how to confront that in a live environment, not knowing what your equipment is doing. Like, yeah, I don't know. It's just cool to know all that stuff. Knowing what all the buttons do, as my dad would say.
That is a skill right there. Because I know my podcasting setup, I know about half of the buttons do most of the time.
Yeah.
It's fine. I am living proof that you don't have to know everything to be somewhat successful at what you're doing. You just have to bring on other people who also know that kind of stuff. That's what my co-host is. He's he started as a producer and he has we have other production people now. But I just like, look, I do the interview and then I hand you the files, and that's the deal we have here.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, you gotta have that technical skill there.
Yeah.
So I know you said that you are planning to were you planning to go back to school to become an educator?
So I go back and forth between being in school full time and not. And this fall I'm going back again full time, but I still have a responsibility to the tattoo shop, so I am still working there and at least making my end of the rent and supply costs and shit.
You getting the GI Bill?
I will be using my GI Bill. Hopefully, nice. I will be using this semester the Voc Rehab program. It's called VR&E now. It's kind of a similar thing, but it's more of an employment directed thing than just a school directed thing. And they kind of help people with barriers to employment access the training and shit that they need. So hopefully VR&E will be able to cover the cost of my schooling, because my GI Bill will run out before I get all of the accreditations and stuff that I need to be a teacher at the college level. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's the first thing that I went to school for when I got out of high school, is like, I just want to teach like in a jazz studies program or something music at the college level. And it never really went away. So we're coming back to it.
Well, that's good. So are you going to keep the tattoo side of things flowing as well?
So I will absolutely be doing that while I am finishing out my associate's stuff at the community college. But when I transfer to a 4-year institution, things are going to be a lot more demanding for me as a saxophone player trying to get like a jazz studies degree. So it's like one of those like whole ass one thing rather than half-ass two things. So I'm going to be taking a big step back from tattooing at that point, and I'll probably only be doing guest spots over the summer for that period of time. And then, when I teaching jobs are getting worse and worse benefits wise for teachers. So there's probably no shot that I'm ever going to be able to be in like a tenured position or anything like that. I'll probably be adjunct faculty for quite some time. So I absolutely hope to continue tattooing on the time that I'm not teaching, because I found so much in this community that helped me reclaim the parts of myself that were kind of lost to being in the military. So like, yeah, kind of reconnecting with such an extreme degree of individualist thought and stuff. Like, yeah, I don't know. It's very important to me. And like, yeah, I'm fortunate that I feel like the interests that I'm able to pursue and am lucky enough to be able to support myself with all kind of have like shamanistic qualities to them. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's really important to me because I don't really have a lot of contact with like the spiritual world. So like I'm into vibrations, whether they be the ones that happen in your eyes or the ones that happen in your ears. That's what God is to me.
No, I absolutely understand. My wife has not worked in an office for over 10 years and she's like, there's no way that I ever could. And she does travel agency and she crochets things for me to sell online. So,
hell yeah.
You know, we find I have a corporate job. I like my corporate job though. It pays well. It doesn't demand too much of me. I'm taking a lunch break to record a podcast.
That's great.
You know, so we also kind of get to make that work because I have the artistic expression that I get to do is not just this podcast because I really like talking to people and I like bringing people to other people, but I also do my own sign creations and stickers and things like that. So I guess I do find my artistic outlets in other places. I really like to find old stuff like old signs at secondhand stores and repaint them.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, the nuclear waste sign is one of my biggest sellers. So, and yeah, it's just there has to be something. Like I feel like too many people in this world are running around their daily lives without some kind of artistic outlet, like just something to be like, I'm going to make something and it's just going to be for me or it's going to be for something else, but they don't get that. And I think that's really breaking a lot of people's brains.
Yeah. I mean, like we're so systematically isolated from one another just by the way that, you know, our daily life is structured as tax-paying, working Americans and shit. So, like, there's so many instances that our way of life robs us of our humanity. And I think one of the easiest and most foundational ways to reclaim that, how to start thinking for yourself and do things that are going to feed you at that level, is to have a creative outlet, even if it's straight up just fucking scribbling on a page. Like, it doesn't have to be for anything. It doesn't have to produce something. It doesn't have to sell. It doesn't have to be better than. It doesn't have to comment on anything. Like, your contact with the divine is your ability to create something out of nothing. So just do it, man. Like, yeah, I don't know.
Don't let the computer do it for you.
Right.
Or unless you're going to use Photoshop to do something, but don't use the AI. That thing, the Photoshop AI so far has not been super useful to me, but it is that, like, and I'm not spiritual. I was raised Catholic and I left all of that a long time ago, and I'm much more like just knowing that there has to be, whether you want it to be spiritual or not, there has to be some kind of outlet for that.
Right.
Otherwise your brain is going to explode. Like, you can't just go do the office job and then come home to the family and not have something, you know. It just, maybe there are people out there like that, and maybe they're perfectly normal. I don't know. It seems like there has to be something though that gives you a creative outlet to really be a normal functioning human. You know, you got to use all of the brain up there.
Yeah. And when I say like spiritual, I mean more like from the perspective of a guy who's done a healthy amount of psychedelics, not any organized anything, just kind of like, sure. You know,
like I said, I know all about vibes-based beliefs. So I perfectly understand it, because, you know, having somebody say, you know, how do you manage to be a good person by being an atheist if you don't have God? I'm like, that is really telling of you more than it is of me, brother. Like, that's not, like, I don't need somebody to say I'm going to punish you for me to do the right thing. It's not there.
You need a reward? Like, I just feel good when I do good. Like, yeah,
shit. my reward is that person is smiling, and that makes me want to smile. Sadly, not everybody else is like us. Not everybody is as enlightened as myself and the lead saxophonist for Throat Piss. Clearly,
the most evolved humans right here.
Yeah, we're the one. The DNC needs to wants to find the next Joe Rogan, I think we got it right here.
Oh, shit.
You
I'm going to take myself out if that's the case.
Do you want to all the free DMT that you could want?
True.
Well, Aaron, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with me. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about? I always like to leave it a little open.
Yeah, I mean, so Throat Piss, we've got our first full-length release. It should be coming out late summer, early fall. We're cooking up a big tour in fall in the October timeframe. Going to be heading out west from Austin, so we're going to go through kind of the Southwest and land in California and do a few Southern California dates out there, and then run our way back. Yeah, for the band, that's we'll be having our annual Piss Prom at the end of this year. We're not releasing any details on that yet, but Piss Prom 3 will be announced soon enough. And then on my personal end, if you're in Austin, Texas, and you want to come get a tattoo, I'm at Noble Jackal's Tattoo. We've got Friday the 13th coming up, and I always do a special one-off sheet for that. And yeah, I don't know, man, just like
well, no, that's perfect. I really appreciate you coming on to talk. Like I said, I love the people who are out doing some weird shit out there. Those are always my favorite people to find, especially the ones that have found their way into the military and then found their way back out of it, kind of going, what the fuck was that about? What was that?
A fever dream.
Yeah, it happens to the best of us. All of the links that Aaron mentioned will be down below. Aaron, this will come out probably next week, so we'll make sure that people can come and see you. If you ever come to St. Louis, let me know. If you don't, though, I completely understand. It is not necessarily the city for, I don't know, anybody to come to. Sometimes bands come through. Are you guys coming?
I think we played a date out there. I think it's St. Louis. Heavy Anchor is the club. Yeah. We played Heavy Anchor last winter run that we did. We had fun out there.
That's like half a mile from me.
We got to play with a cool band called The Braid, and man, I'm blanking on the other, but it was so it was a Thursday night, so it was relatively low attendance, but man, the bands were so hospitable. The venue hooked us up with free vegan pizzas to crush in the car before we got to our hotel and shit. It was a cool spot. We'd absolutely come back to St. Louis.
Yeah, my experience with the Heavy Anchor is they used to have a kind of a night market there on Tuesdays, and I once upon a time was making soaps, and I would take my 3-year-old daughter with me to this bar on Tuesday nights, and I'd order a pizza because they have the frozen pizzas that you can grab. Give her a cheese pizza, sit her up at the bar. Nobody seemed to have any problem with it. They're like, I mean, you guys leave before 8 o'clock, so as long as you're out before the band starts showing up, you're gonna be fine. So I've spent a lot of time in Heavy Anchor. There's a really cool cinema next to it too. Like somebody took an old bar area and turned it into a small kind of boutique art house cinema that's a lot of fun to go to as well.
That's rad.
So yeah, you come back to St. Louis, we'll have fun.
Hell yeah, I'll make sure to reach out if we do.
All right. Well, thank you so much, everybody. Thank you so much for listening, and we will talk to you next week.
Awesome.